back, smartphone fans. I'm Adam, tech editor with Gizmo China, and boy, oh boy, we've got a good one for you today. I've got a Huawei P20 Pro and a Xiaomi Mix 2S. These are very possibly the top Chinese-branded smartphones on the market today, and it is my goal to help you to know which is best for you. Make sure to watch the whole video for results over 5 different sections that is sure to help you pick a favorite. I've got to say, on a few points, the choice is actually quite clear. Let's get to it. Now, although the boxes are complete opposites, what they come with is pretty much the same. The Huawei box is white, shimmery lettering, very reminiscent of Apple, while the Xiaomi box is matte black with gold shimmery lettering. Inside, both have the phone, USB Type-C charging cables with fast charger, a protective case, and a USB to 3.5mm dongle for wired audio. Obviously, both of these have ditched that. The only additional item in the offering is that Huawei included a pair of USB-C headphones, which is actually pretty nice, as the phone is already quite a bit more expensive than the Mix 2S, so you're not going to need to buy any additional headphones. As for the cases, I kind of prefer the Mix 2S matte option, which hides fingerprints and eliminates the camera bump if laid down. The Huawei offers a thick, clear TPU case that just doesn't remove fingerprints and just kind of ruins an otherwise beautiful looking phone. Speaking of the beauty of the Huawei P20 Pro, take a look at the multicolored glass back. The color is named Twilight, and it has green, blue, purple hues, among others, depending on the angle of view and how the light is hitting it. There are a couple different other options available. You can get a blue, you can get a black, you can get a pink gold one. This Twilight one is really the head turner here. The sides of the phone are beautiful polished aluminum that is sandwiched by 2 pieces of rounded glass, making the device feel premium and quite comfortable in the hand. There is quite a bit of text on the back of the device, however. It's kind of kept to one side, so that's good, but the ceramic back of the Xiaomi Mix 2S differentiates from most phones in the market that use glass from front and back. The ceramic is heavier and more scratch resistant than glass. It has a rating of 8 to 8.5 on the Mohs hardness scale, and glass is closer to 6. However, there is a drawback to ceramic. It's a little bit more brittle and prone to crack, so don't drop your Mix 2S. A few other benefits of ceramic are that it's far more corrosion resistant, does well in high temperatures, and my favorite may just be how pristine it always looks. It always looks brand new, doesn't matter how old it is. Something else that helps the P20 Pro's comfort is that it's slightly thinner than the Mix 2S, although slightly taller. Here, you can see the dimensions of the two devices, with the Huawei P20 Pro just a little bit taller, slimmer, and lighter than the Xiaomi Mix 2S. In use, the Mix 2S is capable with one-hand operation, but I preferred two-handed operation. I also preferred two-handed operation on the Huawei as well, even though it's a little bit slimmer. The button layout is very similar for both devices, with the power and volume rockers on the right side. And the dual SIM card only, there's no SD expansion for either device, is on the left. The main difference in layout is the fingerprint sensor location and camera locations, especially the front camera. The Mix 2S pushed Xiaomi's goal of a bezel-less phone quite a bit with the decision to forego a notch like the one that's found on the P20 Pro, and instead placed a front-facing camera on the bottom chin area of the phone. This, and placing the fingerprint sensor on the rear of the device, makes the chin on the Xiaomi Mix 2S quite small and allows the display to shine. The Huawei P20 Pro has both the notch at the top and a front-facing fingerprint reader in the larger chin at the bottom. This must be why the phone's a bit taller, as it needs to be to include these bits of tech. I like the fingerprint sensor in both locations, although if the device is on a table, the front sensor is preferred. Both devices have plenty of visual sensors and can do face unlocking, but it's not great on either device, to be honest with you. Both devices have a dual mic system for noise reduction and a single bottom speaker. That said, the P20 Pro also throws in an IR blaster in case you want to use the phone as a remote control directly. Also, the speaker systems are a bit different in options, as the P20 Pro includes the earpiece in its loudspeaker array and has Dolby Atmos on board, which, in my opinion, delivers a far wider sound range. Neither were very loud, but it's time you check them out here and decide for yourself. The Huawei has a big leg up in weather resistance with an IP certification of IP67, whereas the Xiaomi has no rating certification at all. This means the Huawei can take up to 30 minutes submerged in under 1 meter of liquid, so rain spills won't bother you much. But with the Xiaomi, you just gotta hope for sunny skies and be careful around drinks. Let us know which phone design you prefer in the comment section, and don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. Designs like these deserve screens to match. I think they succeeded with the Huawei P20 Pro going with a 6.1-inch AMOLED blazer and the Xiaomi Mix 2S sporting a 5.9-inch IPS LCD. The Huawei is a 1080 by 2240 pixel display that includes a notch, while the Xiaomi has a 1080 by 2160 notchless screen. The additional height in the Huawei allows for the notch in the P20 Pro, and if you turn on the cover up, the displays are just about the same 18:9 ratio. With that said, the color accuracy for both is excellent, with a multitude of options for tweaking both the colors and the brightness. With the P20 Pro additionally having ambient sensors that will change the color of the display depending on the colors around you. The P20 Pro will have much deeper blacks than the Mix 2S due to the AMOLED display tech, and it shows. The shadows of the Xiaomi display look slightly washed out compared to the Huawei, but they both look comparatively incredible. I love both screens' sharpness and resolution. The Huawei P20 Pro is slightly brighter, but only if using auto brightness. Otherwise, the phones are pretty much equal in brightness. Using both in sunny days won't be a problem. The Xiaomi included Gorilla Glass 4, while the Huawei only has 2.5D curved glass. Both displays are fantastic overall, the only major difference being Huawei's deeper blacks and the notch above the OLED panel. Which display do you prefer? Now that we understand the designs, let's get onto the power behind it all. Here is where we can see a few big hardware differences. Does it affect performance though? Let's take a look. Starting with the processors, the Huawei P20 Pro has the Huawei-built high silicon Kirin 970, which in fact is the same CPU in the Huawei Mate 10 from last year. It's matched with an octa-core Cortex A series CPU. For video and gaming, the device packs a very stout 12-core Mali G72 and 6GB of double-channel RAM, which is actually a bit of a bottleneck compared with the 4-channel RAM in the Xiaomi Mix 2S. The Mix 2S, as shown in our recent review video, which we will link in the description, gets right into the mix. With the new Snapdragon 845 chipset, an octa-core Kiro CPU setup, and depending on the version you choose, either 6 or 8GB of RAM. For you game and video lovers out there, the Mix 2S comes with a sweet Adreno 630 GPU, which should push those frames extremely well. Additionally, the Huawei has a separate i7 coprocessor and neural net processing unit, which certainly helps the AI features of the device. The P20 Pro comes with a single 128GB storage option, and the Mix 2S actually has 3 options: a 64 128GB storage with 6GB of RAM, or 256GB of storage with 8GB of RAM. Both devices do not offer expandable storage options. The Bluetooth and NFC offered by both is quite different. The Huawei device has Bluetooth 4.2, while the Xiaomi has Bluetooth 5.0, which means the Mix S will have a faster data rate, a much further range of up to 200 meters, and a capacity for larger throughput. Being able to connect with Bluetooth from a larger distance is probably the biggest improvement in my opinion. Both offer speedy fast charging to full in less than 90 minutes with their included chargers, and both last for a long while due to pretty big batteries. With the 3400 mAh battery on the Xiaomi and the whopping 4000 mAh battery on the Huawei, the Xiaomi has about 15 hours of talk time and 9 hours video, and the Huawei is rated for about 20 hours talk time and about 12 hours video use. So by the numbers, the Huawei P20 Pro is a little bit better. As for pure numbers, I tested both devices using Antutu, and the Xiaomi Mix 2S beat just about every device on the market with a massive 261,609 score, while the Huawei P20 Pro was just out of the top 10 with a 209,518 score. This is significant, and likely due to the use of an older chipset, paired with a slightly slower RAM that offers less throughput in the Huawei. In real-world experience, however, I ran into very little difference. Both UIs run smoothly and free of stutter or jitter. Playing games is speedy and can generally be done at high frame rates. Watching or creating videos is done with ease for both devices. I feel both these phones have internals that have been optimized very well for their respective software packages. Let's see in the comments which you feel comes out on top for power. I think the choice is fairly clear. If you're enjoying this Huawei P20 Pro versus Xiaomi Mix 2S comparison, make sure to press the like button. We'd love to hear your thoughts on which phone you prefer and why in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to the Gizmo China channel for more smartphone and tech goodness. Both phones ship with Android Oreo, but the Huawei has the latest 8.1 version while the Xiaomi has 8.0, which means you're going to get a few extra tweaks on the Huawei, but otherwise it's the same general interface backbone. Where the difference is occur is in the UI skins, with the Huawei's EMUI 8.1 including some intense customizations, and the Xiaomi Mi UI 9.5 keeping it simple while powerful. Both offer a standard Android navigation bar option and at least a secondary option. That secondary option is where I lived while using both of these devices, as they are so well implemented, although at the same time they're very different. Huawei's secondary input utilizes the fingerprint sensor as sort of a dual gesture machine with pressure sensitivity. I found swiping left to right to get to recent tasks pretty simple, but I wish there were more customizations available. Maybe swiping up and down can add more functionality. Anyway, just tapping the fingerprint reader goes back a step, while pressing harder takes you back to your home screen. In the end, it felt slightly short of what I feel it can be. The P20 Pro has two other methods of input, with either a virtual touch bar at the bottom or a navigation dock, which does all the same controls as the others, but from anywhere on screen. Meanwhile, Xiaomi's secondary input utilizes a gesture system similar to what the iPhone X has, with swipes from the sides and bottom to move you around. I found this incredibly satisfying and fluid. I love this system so much that while using my daily driver, I accidentally tried a few of the gestures to no avail, wishing my phone had the same. Just swipe left and right to go back, and up from the bottom to go back to the home screen. Swiping up from the bottom and holding takes you to multitasking, where you can just flip apps off the screen or switch very simply. I also found the swiping animations are a fantastic addition on the Xiaomi Mix 2S, and is likely where you can see the additional added power going to work. I felt the one-handed software option for either device wasn't a great experience, so I chose not to use that mode after initially attempting it. Huawei includes a few branded apps as well that help you with things like home automation, health, etc. Xiaomi didn't really include any usability apps, although there is a Mi Live video application. I do prefer the home layout of the Huawei and find the dual weather useful for travel photographer like myself. It's simple, clean, and informative, while the Xiaomi is more stylish with the way the time is laid out and minimal additional information. Call quality on both phones is pretty much what you'd expect from flagships. Clean and clear sound, excellent voice transmission. If anything, the Huawei speaker is ever so slightly louder, but not by much. Which secondary input do you prefer? I feel the experience has a fairly defined winner, but I'm gonna see if you agree in your comments. Now we're on to the highlight of the show, especially with the Huawei and its spectacular Leica branded array of 3 cameras on the rear and the impressive dual camera setup on the Mix 2S, which is its most differentiating feature from the previous Mix 2. Huawei went all out with a huge camera bump needed by adding that third camera to its device. A 20 megapixel monochrome shooter that packs an amazing tonal detail unavailable to an RGB color sensor, along with a 40 megapixel main shooter and an 8 megapixel telephoto camera. I must say, if you use the phones on the table, you're gonna find the massive camera bump on the Huawei affecting your use far more than the Xiaomi, so keep that in mind. On the front is a 24 megapixel 2.0 camera that doesn't skip a beat. The settings allow for customization in many ways, even allowing for raw photos in Pro mode. These customizations will both take time to get used to, and they're also flexible enough to work for most budding photography fans. Xiaomi also highlights its Mix 2S with a fantastic, albeit somewhat common these days, dual camera. That said, the phone's processing power, software, and options make this an extreme performer. Both cameras are 12 megapixel, one at f1.8, and the telephoto camera being f2.4. On the front is a 5 megapixel camera that feels like it's there kind of as an afterthought. Xiaomi even put the camera in the corner like it did something wrong. There are a few options and features that put this phone on a stratosphere beyond just about anything out there, such as the ability to control contrast, which opens up the dynamic range for more detail in the shadows and in the lighter areas, allowing for detailed detailed creative editing and a more lifelike overall image. Both have very clean interfaces in use, while the Huawei offers more options in its main camera menu, each with its own customizations available. Huawei offers aperture, night, portrait, photo, video, pro, and then it has a more section with more options. While Xiaomi has short video, which is 10-second video mode, video, photo, portrait, square, panorama, and manual modes. As for actually selecting the different modes, the Xiaomi falls short, as you don't just swipe left and right and the list moves fluidly. They kind of like move one at a time. It feels clunky to me. For each phone, the associated settings menu is different depending on which mode you're in, with most settings on screen for the Huawei and most settings in a settings menu for the Xiaomi. Again, the Huawei method is preferred here. In the standard photo mode, both devices offer AI scene recognition with literally hundreds of scene options without you making any changes. In use, this is actually hit or miss for both phones. Sometimes the colors will be too vivid, other times just not bright enough. And this was an equal issue with both. Both had no problem picking out proper modes, however, the inbuilt customizations weren't exactly what I wanted. So being able to turn this off at times is great, and both phones allow for you to turn off the AI modes. I do not like the beauty option all that much. It often makes the subject look way too soft and silly. Gladly, both devices offer some forms of removal. The video modes on these are quite similar, as both offer 30 frames per second at 1080p 4K and optical stabilization at 1080p only. The Huawei also throws in 60 frames per second on 1080p as well. I found the image stabilization to be better on the Mix 2S, but only slightly. And the P20 Pro is still very usable. Slow-mo is a feature I tend to enjoy and maybe overdo, but these cameras don't disappoint me. Both go 1080p at 200 frames per second, while the Huawei P20 Pro will go to 960 frames per second in 720p. I found the image in the Huawei to be far over sharpened though, and a bit harsh, while the Xiaomi produced a much more clean slow-mo that I really appreciated. Another video feature that I use often is time-lapse, so I tried it with both of these devices and it wasn't close. The Mix 2S has a ton of timing options and in the end came out with a beautiful and smooth video, while the Huawei was, well, not smooth and beautiful. Both of these device camera systems are very well equipped and also have some very standout features. I have a feeling that many of you will choose the Huawei P20 Pro here just based on the usability, if not for the image quality. Am I right? Let us know in the comments. No matter which of these devices you end up picking up, you're going to be happy once you get used to the features. I feel that there's one more bit that I must throw in that will assist you in your purchase decision. The innovative Huawei P20 Pro costs about $900 US, whereas the powerful Xiaomi Mix 2S comes in around $600. That's a 150% price difference, which must be included in the comparison of the design, display, power, experience, and camera. I feel like each of these devices have some extremely strong points as well as some desirables. Picking the right phone for you will come down to which of these features you feel you need. I know which one I prefer. How about you?